Now we'll continue with the second panel discussion. It actually will be two parallel sessions on public policies and mechanisms in enabling a favorable environment for startups and entrepreneurship. As you know, they are grouped in according to countries. So in one working group, we'll have Macedonia, Albania, and Kosovo, and in other one, we'll have Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, and Montenegro. The participants will be called into the small working groups by us. So patience, 1 or 2 minutes, and then you'll be under the facilitation of respective moderators. Nikita Kushenkova and from Albania, Budishka Zen Marko. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. We will talk in this panel about how to create favorable and fair conditions for growing the startup ecosystem and social economy ecosystem. I think we all agree that it is important to create better framework conditions and provide promising startups and social enterprises, social businesses, a better framework for development. In this panel, we will have government representatives from Albania, North Macedonia, Kosovo, and North Macedonia, Albania, and Kosovo, because in the parallel panel there are other countries from the Western Balkans.
Sorry.
Yep.
Milena is here from Serbia. I don't know why I'm in this panel. I should be in the second one.
I think yes.
Yeah, me also.
Yeah, but automatically the system just this panel.
From Montenegro.
Yes, sorry, Shkrzen. Yeah, we know there is a technical issue with the division of groups, and yes, you all participants that have submitted the request for the second group will soon receive a message to go to the second group.
Okay.
It will be moved to the second. Sorry for the inconvenience.
So just for clarification, just to wait here where we are now.
Yeah, please wait there, and you
Okay.
will receive a notification to go to your group.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so not to lose time, we will continue and then our friends can move to the second group.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Clotilda. As I was saying, in this panel, we have representatives from both government and support organizations that will discuss and provide insights on the national legal and regulatory framework, policies, and existing mechanisms that have already been developed and implemented during this time, but also on what are the new initiatives and what is needed to fill the potential gaps. I will start by introducing the panel. We have Ms. Donna Bilali, who is the Minister of State for Protection of Environment, of Entrepreneurship, a Member of Parliament, and for a long time, more than 10 years, involved in supporting the entrepreneurship and business community and startup community at different capacities as advisor, consultant, mentor. In 2018, she has been awarded Mentor of the Year award, and she has quite a lot of work as expert for both national and international organizations. Welcome, Mr. Bilali.
Thank you.
We have Mr. Yumni Ademi, State Counselor for Entrepreneurship in Ministry of Economy of North Macedonia. He has been supporting development of entrepreneurship and competitiveness of SMEs and development of promotion of crafts. Welcome, Mr. Ademi.
Thank you.
We have Ms. Clotilda Costa. She's Director of Programs at Partners Albania for Change and Development. Since a long time, she's involved in supporting and promoting social entrepreneurship and supporting development of the ecosystem. She's leading social entrepreneurship and innovation program at Partners Albania. She's a board member of Balkan Civil Society Development Network and a very active person, and more important than her official position, very fine expert on social economy. Welcome, Clotilda. We have Mr. Uranik Begu, Executive Director of Innovation Center Kosovo. For several years, he has been engaged in supporting Kosovo entrepreneurship ecosystem.
Shkërzen,
Yeah.
I am so sorry to interrupt you, and I'm so sorry to all the participants for this inconvenience. I have just an information for participants and panelists and speakers from Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, and Montenegro. Could you please leave the connection and enter again, so you will be assigned to your room? Leave and please link again. Leave the meeting, the whole meeting, and then enter again. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, should we wait
Yes.
a little bit? Okay.
We can continue. Thank you, Shkërzen.
Okay. Yeah, as I was saying, Mr. Begu is Executive Director of Innovation Center Kosovo. Since a long time, very much engaged in supporting development of Kosovo entrepreneurship ecosystem at various capacities and titles, as consultant, mentor, speaker, and supporter of development of legal and policy framework in Kosovo, but also as advisor and investor, co-owner, board member of various startups. Welcome, Mr. Begu. Do we have you? I don't see you. We have.
I can hear you very well. Thank you so much.
Okay, very good. Very good. Welcome.
Also welcome.
We have Mr. Igor Madzov, who is founder and president of Startup Macedonia in North Macedonia. As a passionate entrepreneur, investor, mentor, not only in North Macedonia, but in various Western Balkan countries. And he's actively involved in supporting the whole ecosystem, both institutionally as a representative of his organization, but also individually as an expert and investor and leading different initiatives and for development of the ecosystem, including the law on angel investing and national policy on youth entrepreneurship. Thank you very much for participating. I would like to...
Thank you for the invitation.
I would like to open the discussion by inviting all of you to say a few words about what are your considerations of the most important achievements during these years in terms of policy, legal framework, regulatory framework, or support mechanisms, both public or private, state or from non-state actors, that have been implemented in your countries for supporting development of startups, entrepreneurship, and social economy. So we'll leave for you to start. Let's start with ladies first, probably. Ms. Bidali.
Thank you, Shkelzen. It is a great honor to meet you all, and it's great also to be now participating in this event on another capacity. Startup communities are it's the favorite ecosystem. So when I speak about this community, I'm very passionate and but also stating facts. We as government now has taken the ecosystem very much seriously. In the past, we have had initiatives such as AIDA, the Albanian Investment Development Agency, that supports with grants startups, also with the self-employment program of the employment general employment directorate. And also in Albania, there have been present many donor-based and project-based initiatives for the community. What I would like to stress that the government is doing, and what is the biggest achievement, is the new draft law for Albanian startups. As you well know, but for the other participants who don't, in the past 1 year and a half, we started consulting a new law for startups. It was the Ministry of State for the Protection of Entrepreneurship has a crucial role in the draft law. We are now at the phase that we have the final draft, and I'm very proud to see what is the result of this law, because it will include every stakeholder in the ecosystem. So academia, private sector, so businesses, startups themselves, and the public sector. Decision making will be done by the board of directors, which has also the following participants: 2 from academia, 2 from startup ecosystems, 1 business representative, and 4 representatives from government. It is very important to say that every startup that will be part of Startup Albania, that is the new agency that will be created by law, they will have a grace period, I like to call it, of 24 months, in which they will be excluded from taxation. They will have tailor-made programs for training, then mentoring and coaching from the best and most well-known national and international experts. We would like also to widen the collaboration with other international programs like we have done in the past, and we very look forward to see it implemented in the next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Minister. It's very good to see that not only young people who have been involved in startup community, but also women who have been proactively leading the entrepreneurship and supporting the entrepreneurship coming into the positions of leadership of these new policies. So we are very much looking forward to your initiatives and your support to the community. Clotilda, as partner Albania, you have been initiating and supporting different initiatives. Of course, you may mention several ones, but I'm mostly interested to know myself, but also to present to the participants here the most recent initiative, Do a Partner. What is it about?
Yeah. Thank you, Shkelzen. Yeah, I will share with you. Before that, I would like to take the opportunity and taking from the word of the minister, from what she said about the new draft law for the support of innovative startups. I congratulate the minister that they are moving forward for this initiative, because, as she mentioned, the draft law as firstly was launched in 2020. And I find the opportunity actually here to ask from the minister to share the final draft with us, because at the time when the draft was launched for consultations, we had some comments, recommendations and suggestions for the improvement of the draft. So it would be nice that we see the final version of the draft, and why not to have a final consultation with all the stakeholders before this draft law is sent to the Parliament for approval, so that we have a good law at the end that serves its purpose in support of innovative startups in the country. So, as the minister also mentioned, the ecosystem of startups in Albania is relatively new, and it's at its early stages, but it is growing. We see that in the last years there are several initiatives that are undertaken by state and non-state stakeholders in support of startups, social enterprises, and new enterprises and innovative ideas, especially coming from youngsters. And the most important achievement, I would say, is this increased awareness. So we see that there are several stakeholders of the ecosystem that are aware of the importance of these innovative startups, enterprises, and it is an increased engagement of these stakeholders in support of these new enterprises. And it is a positive thing that even in the draft strategy for business development and investments 2021-2027, we have a specific strategic objective for the development of entrepreneurship and innovation. And the legal aspect and regulatory, let's say, framework, I would say this initiative and also the initiative for the draft law for the law on startups are some key milestones in the developing of startups. When it comes to supporting mechanisms, and as you rightly mentioned, Partners Albania is one of the key players from civil society that has developed several programs in support of startups, especially green startups and social enterprises. We have some initiatives developed through the years that all interested could see them on our webpage. I will not talk about all of them, but I would like to focus in two of them. One, which is an innovative actually initiative in all the Western Balkan countries that we have managed for 4 years, is the establishment of social enterprises in confiscated assets from organized crime. This is a novelty that we have implemented with EU-funded through EU-funded project, and as I said, we have established the first 3 social enterprises in confiscated assets in the Western Balkans. And now these properties, these assets are transformed into places that offer integration and employment opportunities for persons, victims or in risk of organized crime and other marginalized groups, and also are providing services and goods for the local communities where they are. Whilst, as you mentioned, our latest initiatives is Do a Partner Invest, it is also an initiative that serves not only to the startups and new enterprises, innovative and business ideas in Albania, but to the community in the whole Western Balkan region. And through this platform, we want to to boost, let's say, this development of new startups. And this is an opportunity for all types of investors, being them businesses, venture capitals, impact investment schemes, development programs, and individuals to invest in the startup ecosystem in Western Balkan countries, in those enterprises that generate a social and environmental impact. So I invite you all to look at the platform and register there. Thank you.
Thank you, Clotilda. It's probably we should do a little bit of more promotion to these good initiatives because not all are known by everybody. So I think we should push, and more they are known, more they are used, and more beneficial they become. But always, Partner Albania has been proactive in coming with new initiatives and innovative support mechanisms. Thank you. Mr. Begu, welcome. And what is happening in Kosovo? What are the most important achievements, things happening there?
Thank you so much. I hope you can all hear me. I want to congratulate
Yes, we do.
For bringing us together, and it's always a great pleasure to see so many familiar faces, but not just faces, but also contributors to the, I would say, this regional ecosystem, which is such an important factor for the overall development of our nations. I obviously represent a non-profit organization, non-governmental organization, which is called Innovation Center Kosovo, which for the last, we're entering our 10th year, for the last 9 years of activities, has really tried to push forward the agenda of entrepreneurship and innovation in the country by supporting not only startups, but by supporting the overall ecosystem, universities, government, in order to advance in different aspects of enriching our startup ecosystem. In being very specific in terms of what we consider as the most important achievement in terms of policy or legal and regulatory framework, obviously we as ecosystem drivers, we are very demanding. So we don't consider achievements as they are. Unfortunately, Kosovo, due to his nature of I would say political fragmentation over the last 9 years, at least since I've been running the Innovation Center, Kosovo has had the pleasure of the non-pleasure of having 6 prime ministers. Unfortunately, this has, and parliaments obviously, and presidents around 3. Unfortunately, all of this has affected us directly in really having a stable agenda, I would say, in pushing forward the needed regulatory framework and other support mechanisms in order to support not only startups, but economic development overall. Fortunately, donors have been very active. And Innovation Center Kosovo has been very lucky to work with donors that have been very supportive and understanding in terms of advancing this entrepreneurial and startup ecosystem, particularly because Kosovo's population is very young. Its economy is in transition, and startup ecosystem and technology sector overall has been seen as one of the main drivers of overall economic growth. But at the same time as a factor for driving and changing the, I would say, the perspective of young people, which unfortunately, among which the unemployment is one of the highest in Europe. There's a lot to be done in terms of regulatory and policy framework. Obviously, there is a new government since this year. There's been some tentative. There's a ministry in place which is working on drafting the necessary legal and regulatory acts. Hopefully, there will be a wider discussion, not only local in terms of Kosovo, but there will be engagement of other good regional and European regulatory acts, which would potentially support, but not just support the local ecosystem, but at the same time integrate and see how this legal framework fits in within the regional initiative, which I think should be the ultimate goal of developing an ecosystem which is supported. Just as a background information, Innovation Center Kosovo has supported up to date around 450 startups. Many of them are one of the most successful startups in the region now. Some of them have even exceeded the valuation in tens of millions. We're very proud of our background and diversity. Recently, in the last couple of years, what is very promising in terms of our local ecosystem is that we're seeing a growing interest of European founders to come to Kosovo and start a business within ICK, within Innovation Center Kosovo. And this is a great thing. So I'm sure we will have a more open discussion on that. So I thank you for this first part.
Thank you, Mr. Bego. We have two great friends here from Macedonia. Macedonia has been one of the probably most active countries in working and pushing the ecosystem together and trying to create quite interesting initiatives. So, Mr. Ademi, what are the biggest achievements in North Macedonia that you would like to highlight?
Yes, good morning all. Nderuara Ministre Biljali. On behalf of the Ministry of Economy of the Republic of North Macedonia, I would like to greet you and to thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this event dedicated for the entrepreneurship. It is more than obvious that we all need to stimulate the entrepreneurial mindset, encourage innovative business startups, and foster a culture that is friendlier to entrepreneurship and to the growth of small and medium-sized enterprises as main preconditions for generating growth and employment. The need for overall positive entrepreneurial climate and for framework conditions that facilitate and encourage entrepreneurship is widely recognized, and this event actually confirms this statement. The entrepreneurial culture in Republic of North Macedonia, what was, started developing in the last decade of 20th century by the privatization process in the newly established country. It took over 20 years a local stakeholders' effort and tremendous donor support to push the topic of entrepreneurship higher on the economic development agenda, with supporting mechanisms and activities. The government policies and tools for SME support, entrepreneurship promotion and development are reflecting the EU policies, practices and targets. In 2018, the Republic of North Macedonia adopted a new national small and medium enterprise strategy. The strategy established a framework for cooperation between public and private sector stakeholders and civil society in order to support SME development and innovation in order to improve their stakeholder. The strategy designed around the three strategic goals. First is favorable business environment. Second, increasing and improving the opportunity for SME growth. And third, dynamic ecosystem of entrepreneurship and innovation. Another strategic who wants to present it to you is a document related with entrepreneurship, is the strategy for development of women and entrepreneurship in North Macedonia. The document presents a big step toward creation of the gender-sensitive policies in the area of entrepreneurship. The overall strategic goals is economic empowerment of women by creating a favorable business climate and providing support for the development of their entrepreneurial potential, creating a new job, and thus strengthening the overall economy. The strategic priority are first creating a favorable business environment. Second is providing systematic support for development of women entrepreneurship and promotion, networking, and advocacy. I want to share with you the document of the government introduced in 2018, Economic Growth Plan. The plan was developed around the 3 pillars to stimulate instrument technological development and increase the competitiveness. The document was also in line with the United Nations recommendation for achieving this sustainable development goals. The economic growth plan envisaged creating new jobs, financial support for company to increase their competitiveness and at new markets, support in penetrating new markets and increasing sales, support to fast-growing SMEs, as well as additional support for technological development of micro and small enterprises. The first 2 pillars are being implemented through the law of financial support of investment, adopted by the Parliament of Republic of North Macedonia in 2018, while the measures of the 3rd pillar are implemented through the Fund for Innovation and Technology Development and the Agency for Entrepreneurship. As I mentioned before, entrepreneurship and SMEs growth also is a part of education policy and employment policies in our country. And in this occasion, I will say a few words for the self-employment program implemented every year by the Employment Agency, Ministry of Labor and Social Policy, Ministry of Economy, and Agency for Promotion of Entrepreneurship. The self-employment support program is a support designed for the unemployment who want to start on business. The target group is unemployment person registered in the offices of the employment agency who are actively looking for a job. The measures in 2021 covers over 1,017 persons who want to establish a new legal entity. The total budget of for 2021 is over 9 million euros. Also, I want to show with you the project who implemented by the Ministry of Economy, parafiscal charges. The Ministry of Economy prepared the exploratory analysis of parafiscal charges.
Okay, yeah, you can share that in the link if you have a link for that, so people can look at it.
Yes.
That would be great.
The analysis made and lists 3077 services having characteristic of parafiscal charges verified by the institution or officially published.
Great.
I really believe in the potential of the region. And that it can grow up in a generator for entrepreneurial culture in the region. Regional initiative like that promote entrepreneurship could contribute to establishment for stronger entrepreneurial ecosystem by sharing network achievements in the local and regional business, incubator, and by setting role model exams for aspirant entrepreneur in direct communication with them.
Thank you.
Here I finished. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, that's very interesting. Mr. Majov, as one of the pioneers of the ecosystem building in the whole Balkans, What are your views on the achievements made so far?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful. It's an honor to be here and share with all of you, as we are always striving towards regional development and not just country development, as all of the countries involved are too small to consider ourselves as a viable economic strong force. Therefore, we have to find our place under the sun, as we call it, to distinguish ourselves, and all of us somehow identify that digitalization and startups are kind of our key focus, just because this type of companies are showing so great progress and impact to our economies that in a few years we can really make a significant change. This was actually our driving force starting 7-8 years ago as individuals in the ecosystem, that all of us worked in different fields. So just for all of you that don't know about Startup Macedonia is an association for the startup community of Republic of North Macedonia, basically combining multiple entities that are working towards development of the startup ecosystem. So we have more than 30 support organizations, accelerator incubators, service providers, and so far we have helped more than 500 startups, from which we actually have about 150 on the startup platform that we have right now. With all these years that we have worked, we understood that in order to have governmental support and understanding, there needs to be a significant critical mass of companies demanding for that type of support. And this was the reason why we started from the bottom up rather than from top down. So as individuals working on different fields, supporting entrepreneurs and helping them grow, finding them financing, access to market, developing their businesses through different programs, creating programs, all of that was part of it. It came as a necessity that we need to work with the government in order to make the growth much faster. Finally, let's say a few years ago, with the creation of the Fund of Innovation within the government of North Macedonia and dedication of funds, these have moved a lot. There is certain people in the government showing interest to really focus on certain topics. So I will just name something that is complementary to our previous guest from North Macedonia, something that was very current I'm having with me right now. It's actually the proposed measures to the government for improvement of the startup ecosystem, which are 10 actions that the government said yes to the whole ecosystem. And this is kind of our big success that is very recent. Other than that, it's also regarding the angel investing, because we think that corporates, individuals, wealthy individuals should play a much larger role in supporting of entrepreneurship rather than donors. Donors are a great way that we can get to a certain level, but then the private sector needs to kick in and support the private initiatives in a way to really support the type of companies that are showing growth. That reflects, of course, with the venture capital funds and all other alternative types of funding that are showing interest to be created, with us now creating the first model for like hybrid venture capital model for North Macedonia. We welcome every VC who is interested to invest, that we can support them in their connection to the right type of companies. Therefore, we have on the side of investments, just in the past 3 years, invested close to 40 million euros into startups. And that's coming from the Fund of Innovation, and another 20 million coming as private investment through equity financing. The part that we are not good at is about promotion, and we need to do more. So promoting it in international, talking with each other as partners cross-country. I'm traveling a lot through the region, as one of my investment activities even leads me tomorrow in Albania as part of the Uplift Accelerator that starts on Friday. Serbia is having their digital in Digital Serbia initiative. I would like to see much more. Very happy that I heard there is a law on startups happening in Albania. Something that I would say and suggest involved as much as possible people from the ecosystem, people from diaspora, because they would like to drive really the activity rather than people from the civil sector, as sometimes we can just get in the loop of creating a strategy that leads nowhere. So that would be my final say for this part, and I can add on later.
Thank you, Igor. Actually, you responded also to my second question. What are the needs and gaps which we need to fill, both in terms of within the country, but also as a network of countries? And as we started a bit late, we will continue until 12, and we will get also some questions at the end. But I would like to open also to the other colleagues from the panel. What do you think are the biggest needs and gaps that need to be filled in order to improve competitiveness and effectiveness of the startup and entrepreneurship ecosystem in the Balkans? So I will not mention the names, so whoever, just.
Maybe I can take from here.
Okay.
What we've done recently at Innovation Center Kosovo, I mean recently not, but just before pandemics, it seems now a long time ago, but it's still very recent in our documents. We focus really on really how we expand our activities in terms of also scope of work. We created a strategy, a 5-year strategy with possibility of revision. And this strategy focuses on three main elements. The first element is obviously this ecosystem building, and what would be our offering and what would be our engagement. We saw that obviously the first pillar would be the programs, the soft, the intangible programs, which can be enhancing mentorship, enhancing training, enhancing consulting services, anything that startup needs, but it's in terms of service. The second thing that we focused has to do with infrastructure. So we focused on infrastructure because we saw that startup need infrastructure to create. They need infrastructure to co-create, if it's with corporates or if it's with university partnerships. Co-working spaces, makerspace, hackerspace, anything that we feel like startups and just the ecosystem overall needs in terms of advancing this. The second pillar had to do with access to finance, and this is all the support in creating a better enabling environment. Igor mentioned briefly, unfortunately still in Kosovo, but I believe also in the region, we do not stand very well when it comes to access to finance. And this is a common complaint of any ecosystem, actually, or any startup ecosystem globally. But in fact, the region has some limitation from a different nature, mainly from the legal perspective in Kosovo, but also on the cultural aspect, which we all need to work a little bit better and more in educating investors, but also being more attractive for diaspora and also foreign direct investments, and different funds which have interest but don't have the necessary infrastructure to invest. The fourth component we focused obviously had to do with government and regulatory aspect. We said we need to help the government to create better laws. It needs to be grassroots. We cannot have top-down decisions to be made in this particular. Obviously, it needs to fit with the overall national strategy, but we need to give some comments and contribution in having a better and more applicable regulation on the ground. This had to do more with government spending. We see also there is a practice in the region where governments create initiatives, government creates funds, government gives grants directly, or they create, and then eventually once the new government comes in, those old initiatives, they fade away without leaving a significant mark on the ecosystem.
So basically we need more stability in policies, you are meaning.
And more involvement of key stakeholders. The fifth component of this support obviously came through promotion. We do some promotion, we need to do better, both internally in terms of sparking entrepreneurship, because frankly speaking, as a notion, the entrepreneurs are still considered businessmen. And this notion of a businessman in the Balkans still has somehow sounds as a negative connotation. And a lot of parents, obviously, for many reasons, they also, and cultural reasons, they like their kids to have a stable job, and they're not supporting as much. So we need to do an internal and external promotion. So this is the 5 pillars through which we focused our activities, but then we also went a step down. And we looked where do the startup and innovations come from? So obviously we have to work with students as a new energy that comes in, with existing startups that are already in the process of creating. We have separate programs with corporate innovation, which we expect to have numerous spin-offs coming out of them. And then diaspora foreign direct investments. I mentioned on my initial opening remarks that we have a growing interest of diaspora, but also foreign direct investments. In Kosovo, our 5th usual suspect would be government innovation, because with the budget that the government has, it may sound strange, government innovation, but with the budget that they have, if they open up, they can open up a new set of opportunities in order for the community to create and provide better services, which ultimately will translate in better well-being for our community. So this is how we have tried to look at opportunities, but also by solving some of our pressing issues on the ground.
Okay, great, thank you. Clotilda, what do you think is needed?
Yeah.
And mostly needed. Now we can build a list of things needed. It's always big, but
everything that Uranik mentioned actually is also needed in Albania. Yeah, the points that he mentions are relevant here in Albania too, and we as a supporting organization are trying to address all these gaps and needs in the ecosystem. More importantly, as I mentioned even at the beginning, I think that the cooperation and collaboration between all stakeholders of the ecosystem is important. So working together to create an enabling legal and operational environment for startups and new enterprises is very needed in the country. As I said, there are several initiatives already happening, but still we are at the beginning and a lot needs to be done. And when it comes to enabling environment, I also include here the supporting tax treatment for startups and social enterprises. It is good that we have some laws, but also these laws should be supported by other policies and mechanisms in order for them to be fully implemented and operational. And the mechanism for the favorable and supportive tax treatment of startups is also needed. Access to finance is also one of the most important and prominent challenging that the startups and social enterprises I include here are facing nowadays. What is something that we as partners are doing through our programs, and we promote, encourage, and want to further boost is the promotion and supporting of alternative financial sources, like business angels, venture capitals, which are somehow inexistent here in our ecosystem in the country. And through our programs, we try to promote these sources, but also to advocate with the government to provide the proper incentives for the establishment and operation of these alternative financial sources. So in our programs, we have aimed to create this pool of funding, startups funds, composed of funding from donors, from philanthropic institutions, but also by local business enterprises in the country as a way to increase their awareness and collaboration to invest in. So we think that support from donors with granting schemes is not the only way, but also is not enough to support startups. So investing in startups is more important now, and this is the way that we are looking forward through our programs and also through the platform that we have established, the Dual Partner Invest. Also, the capacity building, we still see that in parallel with this, we also need to invest in capacity building for the new startups, because we see that despite the programs that are already in place, we think that more programs are needed so that we have some sustainable business ideas and increase of knowledge is needed in several different aspects, in creating business plans, is in creating sustainable campaigns for fundraising, but also in how to access these financing schemes and supporting mechanisms. So in all directions, we think that there is a lot to be done still to boost the ecosystem.
Thank you, Claudia. Very good insights. Probably both Igor and Mr. Ademi, what do you think can be done? Because I see that there is quite a lot of money floating around, but not much coming to the Balkans and to the startups and social enterprises in the Balkans.
Okay.
What can we do individual as organization, but also jointly as ecosystem actors?
Okay.
So that's the same question to both of you in order to save time not repeating it.
Yeah. I would like to say, in order to improve the competitiveness and effectiveness of entrepreneurial ecosystem, it is necessary to advance the governmental and bureaucratic support to businesses, ease up the access to finance, reform formal education system, and to encourage entrepreneurial spirit at all education levels, starting from the early age, as well as improve the overall political and economical situation in the country. In this context, we will continue with digitalization of all processes in the state administration. The digitalization of the process in the administration here in the Republic of North Macedonia started in 2021, especially in the departments providing services is something that has started some time ago and will continue until the digitalization and replacement of the paper with electronic document is completed. Other thing is remove or optimize and streamline at least 100 parafiscal charges for businesses, implemented measures to support startups such as grants, mentoring, training, etc. While in the field of social enterprises, in the further coming period, we will work for adopting the law of social enterprises and continue to support vulnerable and marginalized persons currently employment by the Agency for Employment.
Great, thank you. Yes, Mr.
Yeah,
Madzo.
I would not like to repeat myself or any of my colleagues, so I will just
Yeah, you
wrap
mentioned
it up.
few of the interesting things.
Yes, something that I would like to emphasize, and you mentioned the abundance of resources that are around us that we don't know how to access. And this brings us to the topic of investment readiness and how ready the companies are to actually absorb capital. They don't know how to actually manage hundreds and thousands or millions of euros. So sometimes it's even unproductive to even give them those money because it hurts them rather than helps them. The same goes to all those that are implementing programs, and we see a lot of new donors jumping on the hot topic of startups interested in supporting, and we are very grateful, but there is no communication. There is like copy paste of the same program that happens somewhere. So, and the very last thing is a demo day where they present and nothing happens afterwards. So that means that we need to somehow change the model around programming and how to support startups. It's mentoring and slapping the mentor to every type of activity, and who are the mentors are the main questions that we're asking. So for example, we launched the mentoring platform of Startup Macedonia with not even one consultant. So only entrepreneurs that know how to support and have gone through the process. And something.
Yeah,
that would be all from my side.
A lot of insights, and I think it's very difficult to close this topic because all the panelists are too passionate about what they are doing, so and very insightful. So I think very interesting things came up from these discussions that could be followed with other activities like improving formal education, stability of policies, cooperation among actors, promotion and getting to know all these tools and approaches and policies that are happening, and fostering investment readiness among actors. So things that I think all of us will try to find ways to push ahead and explore them further, how to do it. I would like to thank all of you for participation, for contribution. Mr. Minister, Miss Minister, Donna Bilali, Mr. Ademi, Miss Clotilda Costa, Mr. Bego, Mr. Madzov, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think now, Clotilda, we will pass to the next panel.
Yeah, thank you, Skelzen. Now